Salute. The streets are buzzing. Welcome in, guys, to tonight's live stream. We break down and preview preseason action as the New York Knicks, man, basketball is here. Thursday night or Thursday day in a local time, it goes down against Philadelphia, and we're going to take a look at the matchups of all preseason games, man, and we'll dive in to some fun lineups that we might see throughout the season, and we've got lots to preview in this one. Hope all is well, ladies and gentlemen. I'm ready, I'm hyped for New York Knicks basketball, man. Finally, we are here as the New York Knicks touched down today in Abu Dhabi and went straight to work, straight to practice, man. Mike Brown not messing around. And let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you with us. Thank you for joining us tonight, man. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you are new, we shout you guys out in the building. We have a poll tonight in the chat. What are you most looking forward to, man, in preseason? Right? 4 options. We'll take a look at the end of the stream tonight. Most looking forward to in preseason, maybe seeing the Knicks hammer Philly. We've got 2 games. Are you looking forward to seeing Mike Brown's new system? Which starting 5 that we go with and we use throughout preseason? Maybe he mixes it up. And I'm sure he'll use the 5 games, to get the best look of these starting lineups. Or are you just looking forward to seeing the new bench recruits, man? The New York Knicks souped up bench with Brogdon, Yabusele, Clarkson, and co. And we're going to take a look at those guys in some fun lineups tonight. Like I said, I have about 5 to 6 fun lineups that we're going to look at for different scenarios in game, right? And touching on last season, some areas where we weren't fully tapping into. But Johnny's in the building. Ernest, Doug, Fresh, Buzzer Beater, Altango, Shares V. Great to see y'all. Hope all is well. Johnny says it's all about Brown Town, downtown. Ernest says, yeah, baby, we're ready. And Doug says it was a good day. Salute to everyone. Buzzer Beater in the house. Let's get straight into it, guys. So obviously preseason kicks off on Thursday. It's a noon tip, man, which is kind of crazy time zone. Most people will be at work. For me, I'm half asleep at that time, but we'll definitely be post-game. We'll do a live stream post-game, but probably not right after the game, man. Give me a few hours, and then we'll chop it up in prime time, Eastern time as well. So both games are, funky time zone. The second game on Saturday, the 4th of October, is going to be 11 a.m., right? And then the third game back in New York gets back to a familiar time zone, fam, against Minnesota, 7:30 tip, Washington, 7:30 tip, and concluding Charlotte for a 7:30 tip as well, right? But the players are there early. They're getting used to the local time zone, fam, in Abu Dhabi. As you see some highlights from practice today, man. Deuce and everyone got a fresh cut. Everyone looks ready to go. So we'll hear from Mike Brown too, but Yabusele is hyped for year 12, man, right around the corner. One of my most intriguing lineups has Yabusele in it, of course, fam, as the Knicks also reaching their hotel room, man, getting acclimatized to the customs. You see Kolek with the squad. By the way, Quentin Grimes is not traveling to Abu Dhabi with Philadelphia. He hasn't, worked out his contract yet, so he won't be featuring against the New York Knicks. Quentin Grimes and Philadelphia at odds with this one. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Mike Brown's system. Obviously, in the poll, my answer to that would be seeing Brown's new system, man. That's leading at 64%. What starting 5 we'll use is at 18. Well, now 25%, actually. That's going up. 8% want to see the Knicks hammer Philly, and 8% just want to see the new bench recruits as well. Yeah, and we'll dive into the depth charts of Philly, Minnesota, Washington, and Charlotte as well in terms of what we can expect, fam. But no new news about any possible trade heating up. So Tyler Kolek, as we see, is in Abu Dhabi, along with Pacome Dardier and the rest of this squad. Nobody was left behind. All the guys are there, fam. So really looking forward to a fruitful preseason. How do you think Mike Brown is going to, to face preseason? How do you think he's going to tackle it? I do think that we're probably going to play the starting lineups as intended from game one, but shorten spurts. And I think by the end of preseason against Charlotte, Washington, those are the games where he might start to experiment a little bit more for some guys that haven't had a shot yet. But we all know some, massive storylines heading into preseason are the camp battles for spots, right? Landry Shamet, Malcolm Brogdon, right? Both on non-guaranteed deals. So with that said, right, a trade has to happen for Shamet and Brogdon to make for them to both make the squad. And so we know that, we know what the consequences are of this training camp and preseason, man. I don't think guys are going to be messing around, man. They're playing for some spots. In that case, we got Garrison Matthews also a part of the squad on a non-guaranteed deal, along with Alex Len and Matt Ryan as well. But if things stay as they are, fam, we obviously have one of Shaman or Brogdon that's going to miss out, and Diawara, Dardier, Kolek, and Huck Porty are the guys that are going to be among the situationals right now with the 3 two-ways. Fam, how are you guys feeling about this first game coming up Thursday noon? Are y'all going to be at work? Let us know. How are you going to be, watching the first Knicks game of preseason, right? As I said, we're going to talk about tonight which players are the most intriguing going into preseason. And man, one guy for me is Mikal Bridges, right? Because a lot of talk and a lot of people feeling like he was the most underutilized with Tom Thibodeau, alongside maybe Deuce McBride, maybe Karl Anthony Towns. So, and we all know he's going to start. So that's the most intriguing thing, man, for me coming into preseason is how does Mike Brown use Mikal Bridges? Is he going to use him more ball handling? I suspect so. The pace and space, obviously, a lot of talk that Mikal Bridges has been killing it in training camp, among the fittest player. No surprise, he's very slender, but he could be rapid on the break as well. Doug Fresh says, "I'll be home." All in it. Salute. We have some news also that Jason Tatum, man, is progressing, beyond the expectations. So I've been saying it for a while, but I do think we'll see Jason Tatum at some point this season, right? Probably not until the back end, but I do think we're going to see Jason Tatum, fam, as we see the arena that the Knicks are going to be playing in, right? Etihad Arena. Tweets out Stefan Bondi, fam. I believe Stefan Bondi and Steve Popper from The Beat are on the ground in Abu Dhabi, giving us the latest, right? So I mentioned these fun lineups, man. So let's talk about them now, and then we will look at the depth charts of our opponents, fam. Buzzer with a great question. Who's broadcasting Thursday's game? That is a great question, fam. I do believe it's on ESPN, fam. I do believe it'll be a highlight on ESPN, but I will confirm as we go tonight. Shez V says, I miss Grimy. Well, we have a lineup which features our wings, but first and foremost, I want to start with this lineup. Let's bring this up. Salute to everyone in the building coming through. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now, the first lineup on screen, fam, is a lineup that we didn't see much last season, fam. For whatever reason, Tom Thibodeau wasn't a fan of inserting Deuce McBride. into that starting lineup, or at least closing with these guys, throughout the games. But it's fair to say Brunson, Cat, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby are going to be the 4 starters. But who is going to be the 5th starter, fam? Well, regardless if this guy's a starter or not, I do want to see this a lot more, and I do think we will, fam. Mike Brown is going to find out, if he hasn't already, just what Deuce McBride is all about. Navigating the screen and roll, catching and shooting at a high level, playing hard, finishing at the basket with his athleticism for the most part. So I do think that this first lineup that we're going to look at is something that I want to see more of. Now, this isn't in any particular order, guys, and I'll just get to Jason's super chat in a second. Yeah, we're going to go through about 6 to 12 fun lineups right now, and I want you to give me yours in the chat as well. But no doubt this is intriguing, right? Whether you feel like this is undersized, as I bring up Jason's super chat, big up to Jason, got the streets buzzing. Jason Benjamin says that first lineup will get killed on the glass. And you kind of sound like Tom Thibodeau in that regard, and that's why Tibbs didn't play that lineup, I got to feel, because of the size. And I feel like in certain situations it would get killed on the glass, but I feel like our perimeter defense would be a lot better, and obviously the last line of defense might still struggle a little bit with Cat there as well. But I always felt like Cat needs to play with OG Anunoby, because we all know how good OG is at help defense, recovering, and sometimes protecting the basket as well. He's just all over the place, and he can sometimes cheat off of his man during the last line of D as well. We've got some more diehards coming through the building. Prezi the Boss, Optimus 2G, and everyone coming through. Yuri Ark, salute to John Starks. Let's go, guys. This is just the first of many lineups, so you guys are going to like what we're going to bring up, but this is the first one we're taking a look at, and I feel like we didn't see this enough, right, last season. Now, and we'll do a full recap later, I'm going to bring up the second lineup, fam, and this is basically the second of a 5-out. So obviously the one we're looking at right now on screen is a 5-out lineup, and that's one of the ones that the fans really wanted to see, but we didn't. For many reasons, as mentioned by Jason as well. Salute to everyone in the building. Right, lineup number 2. Right, the new recruit Gershon Yabusele, fam. A little bit better on the boards with Yabusele and Cat. Right, OG, down in the 3 spot. We are bigger positionally right here. No Deuce McBride in this lineup, but dare I say, we are going to see Yabusele play quite a lot with starters, with closing lineups, with the bench, obviously, but maybe alongside Cat a lot as well, fam. Rate this lineup, fam. Let's do that, guys. Rate the lineup out of 10 in terms of how much you're feeling it, how much you're not feeling it, or how much you're feeling that lineup. So with this lineup, rate out of 10 how you would feel this lineup. Doug Fresh says, yes, that's good. Yuri Ark says the preseason will determine who makes that lineup along with who is not getting cut from the team. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, really looking forward to some higher stakes, It's good to have a couple of guys on non-guarantee deals, fam. Buzzer says, do we really want Cat at the 5? And so with that said, you're giving this one a 7.5. Yep, I can feel you on that. I do like what I'm hearing with Mike Brown, guys, saying that he's going to move Cat all around. He's going to have Cat at the 5 and at the 4 as well, and you can mix and match. But like I said, I think this gives Cat a little bit more cover in terms of Yabusele and OG on the glass. And obviously Cat can come out, space the floor out a bit more as well. And John Starks from downtown with a 10, loving this lineup, feeling this lineup. and I love it as well. You know, remember, these are the lineups for all different scenarios, and we're going to go through my death lineup, a lineup that I think could close games out, right? But this could be similar in terms of, let's say scenario is Knicks down, let's say Knicks are down 3, 8 seconds on the clock, basketball being inbound, Knicks with possession out of a timeout, 8 seconds on the clock, Knicks down 3, right? You want the floor spaced out. You need a bucket. You might even need a 3-point bucket, fam. Yes, you could play the foul game. You could go for a quick 2, have enough time. Let's pretend we don't have another timeout. These are one of the lineups that we could play, right? You got Yabusele there in case we brick it. We have a chance to get another rebound as well. Now, you could also throw Mitch out there. But we're going to talk about Mitch. Don't worry about that. Shezvi gives this one an 8. Optimus a 7. Fabian an 8. Roberto says, CT, we have starters. Yep, no doubt. But yeah, there could be some different lineups to close games, Roberto. It might not be the starters per se. Let's say scenario based. We're down 3. You need some buckets, right? Is Mitchell Robinson going to be out there when you're down 3? That could be something. Now, Jason comes through with another super chat. Jason says, Cat's D at the 5 is just not going to cut it. I need Mitch. Right. I think Mitch is going to feature a lot, and I think he's going to be the guy that starts it out, fam. So that was our second lineup, fam. Now, let's go to the third lineup, fam. This could be arguably our best defensive lineup, fam. Rate this one out of 10, ladies and gentlemen. Enter the building. Brand new Nick. Malcolm Brogdon. Now, he ain't the defender he used to be, but at the 1 spot with his size at 6'5", that's obviously more optimal. Deuce McBride, perimeter D. Mikal Bridges, perimeter D. OG Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson. Bam. Anyone else I'm missing? Is this potentially the Knicks' best 5-man defensive lineup? Let us know. Let us know, fam. Defense first. Now, CC goes 8. Russell's in the building with Benjamin B. J Dub, salute. Optimus 2G says, demonic defense there, fam. CC gives this one an 8.5. Yeah, I thought about it for a split second, but I struggle to feel like there's a better defensive lineup we could play. We are maybe a little bit small, but Deuce at the 1, you could pretend that Malcolm Brogdon's the 2 at 6'5". I think in terms of that gives us good perimeter defense, man. Everyone's switchable. Let's keep it a buck. Everyone's switchable in this one. We all know Mitch can switch out as well. Fabian says for defense, that's a 10. John Starks goes 7 with that one. El Tango an 8. Johnny goes a 6.66. A satanic lineup. Huck Porty, yeah, Optimus 2G says Huck Porty is also a defensive whiz. Yeah, definitely. And obviously we got Pacome, we got Diawara, right? Spoiler alert, one of my lineups is going to have Diawara in it, as we're going to look to the 4th lineup in a minute. But this is just the overall roster right now. Who else could have made that all-defense lineup? You're not putting Cat in there. You're not putting Brunson. Not putting Clarkson. Josh Hart, definitely. I'll give you that. We could see a Josh Hart in this lineup. Maybe you take a Brogdon out. Yeah, maybe you take Brogdon out and you put Josh Hart. Right, Josh Hart, a little bit younger, obviously more athletic than Brogdon at this stage of the game. Or you could just substitute Hart for Deuce if you want to be a slightly bigger lineup with that one. Defensively, it's a 9 or a 10. It says Optimus. Yeah, Buzzer goes 8.5, but for defensive purposes only. Yeah. Yeah, let's before we move on, just say scenario based. This could be the Knicks are up 3. Right. The Knicks are up 3 with 4 seconds left. We need a stop. We just need a stop. Protect the lead and get the dub. Close it out. Right. We all remember game 1 against Indiana with Aaron Neesmith going crazy. Right. Brunson and Cat were on the floor. And Thibodeau, I can't remember now whether we had a substitute, whether we had a timeout or not. I'm pretty sure we would have had one timeout. He could have got Brunson and Cat off the floor, but he persisted, even though the Knicks had a healthy lead, a 14, 8-point lead at one stage. We didn't even need to score again. All we needed to do was just to protect the lead, right? This could be that lineup where the Knicks are up 3 with 4 seconds remaining. And like I said, everyone could be switchable. Optimus says, yeah, spot on. Benjamin says, feeling a bit sick today. Hopefully you brighten my day, man. Big up, and hopefully you feel better soon, fam. Thanks for rocking out with us tonight, man. Let us know your thoughts on this upcoming season. Margaret's in the building. Says, when is the first preseason game? It's on Thursday, noon, fam. Eastern Standard Time at noon, because it's in Abu Dhabi, as the Knicks faced the Philadelphia 76ers on October 2nd and October 4, and we'll take a look at the lineups in a minute for Philadelphia. Buzzer says the health of Mitch and Brogdon are the question marks for me. That is going to be significant. Can Brogdon get through camp fully healthy? That's going to be really key as well. Yuri says Hart was subbed in for Deuce. Okay, I like that. Appreciate that info. J-Dub says the preseason will determine the lineups in the season. Yeah, definitely. I feel like no doubt Mike Brown by now has got a solid read. A solid read on where things are at. But before we move to the next lineup, I just want to offer an alternative version of this lineup, fam. An alternate version. Let us know. Let's call this a mixtape version of this lineup. And enter the building, Landry Shamet, fam. Landry Shamet's a dog on the perimeter. We all saw that his, tenacity and hustle was helpful. So in this mixtape version, I'm subbing out Deuce and I'm inserting Landry Shamet, right? So everyone here is at least 6'4", 6'5", and above. So I got love for Deuce McBride, but if you want a little bit more size, you could throw Shamet in this mixtape version, right? You got solid 5 guys that can guard the perimeter as well. So, and then Shamet comes back out, or you might want to rock with Deuce in this one, fam. I think both guys are excellent navigating the screens, man. Landry fighting through screens was excellent. Queen's Play, salute. Carlos says, can you play Yabu at the 5 in a pinch? Yeah, you definitely can. Scenario based, Carlos. I think everything has a rhyme and reason. And what we're doing tonight is just trying to show you scenario based things where, let's say this lineup, we're down 3 and we just need a stop. In a lineup with Yabu at the 5, we're probably going to be down 3 with 5 seconds to go, and you need a 3 to tie. But yeah, I wouldn't play Yabu at the 5 too much. Maybe for 2 or 3 minutes off the bench personally. Altango says Mitch, OG, Diawara, Mikal, Brogdon is a good defensive lineup. Absolutely, man. Yep. Spoiler alert earlier, I said there's a wing stop lineup. We're going to take a look at that. But before we do, fam, let's move to the 5th, 6th lineup, fam. And this is what I call potentially a death lineup, the New York Knicks death lineup. Into the building, Jordan Clarkson, ladies and gentlemen. How many times did Jalen Brunson face the Heat last season? Ball handling, getting trapped, blitzed, swarmed by wings. They all knew that the offense ran through Brunson. In this case scenario, it's pick your poison for the defense, right? It's pick your poison. Rate this 1 out of 10, ladies and gentlemen. Is this the Knicks' best death lineup? Let's say we're down 3 with 5 seconds to go. Timeout, inbound. The Knicks need a bucket. They need a 3, or they at least need a 2 to play the foul game, right? Is this our best offensive threat? Jordan Clarkson or Brunson, both can handle, both can create. Mikal Bridges can come in, can cut and grab the ball as well off the inbound if the other two are going to be a decoy. And then you've obviously got a little bit of size with rebounding if you miss. But you've got Gershon Yabusele and you've got Karl Anthony Towns to space the floor out. You got Karl Anthony Towns and Yabu to space the floor out, fam. Also, these guys can play fast as well. Yeah. Those guys could play fast. Now, Jason Benjamin with the super chat says Pacome, Diawara, and Huck Porty can help defensively too. 100%, and whilst I don't have any Pacome Dardier lineups tonight, and feel free to give me yours, but I do have one with Diawara coming up. And I feel like, yeah, you could insert Huck Porty in any of those other defensive lineups, definitely. And that's the great situation we're in, guys, because you can, like Jason says, you can insert some of these young guns, if they are impressing and starting to feel comfortable. So that I do feel like as the season goes along, guys are hopefully going to improve as well. Some of these guys are going to take a little bit of time to get used to each other as well. So anyone feeling this lineup, man, rate it out of 10. Queen's Place says OG can be in that lineup too. And CC says a 9 overall. Appreciate that. But yeah, 100% agree with Queen's Place. So much so that my mixtape version of this lineup, you know where I was going, fam. Queen's Place in the building. Substituting OG Anunoby in now for Mikal Bridges, right? And you get the same thing. You definitely get the same thing. Maybe less some ball handling, but you've got Clarkson and JB as well. So yeah, this could be the mixtape version of the death lineup as well. Take out Mikal and put in OG Anunoby. Or you could even put OG in Yabusele's spot and you keep Mikal Bridges in there as well. That could still work as a death lineup as well, because it's still 5 out. And it's got Jordan Clarkson as well, who's adept at getting to the foul line, adept at, hitting tough shots. I mean, he's probably our second, third best tough shot maker at the guard spot alongside JB. CC says offense becomes defense with that one. Yes, definitely. El Tango says 8.5. So my biggest thing is, they want Brunson to play off ball, right? And that's been spoken about a lot. For anyone that's missed out on the quotes, Mike Brown is obviously going to try to get the ball up as fast as possible, whether Brunson is dribbling or not. It don't matter, because they want him up the floor and they want the corners spaced out, pace and space, right? So with that, if that's the case, right, who's going to handle the ball and who could handle a blitz or a trap, right? Last year we struggled against Indiana in a couple of those late games because you literally doubled up on Brunson and it was like, man, shot clock's going down. Who's going to get us the bucket that we really need, right? So that's why Jordan Clarkson or Malcolm Brogdon Potentially Macau, if he steps up, or even Landry Shamet could be one of those outlets. Could be one of those outlets, fam. So this lineup's coming in hot. Carlos says 9. Fabian says 7.5. Yep. CC says we can't forget we hit clutch threes under 5 seconds. Johnny says St. Joe's coach going to take Pac-Man to that next level. Jason Benjamin says, y'all got to watch Pacome defensive reps from last season. He has the tools. Hopefully he can make, even more strides. Fam. So that was two lineups with a mixtape version. Now, guys, last but not least, right? We looked at a death lineup. We looked at a defensive lineup. We looked at a closing lineup with Deuce McBride. For anyone that's just joining us, we'll recap it as we go tonight. But some of y'all may be thinking, where's Josh Hart, fam? Do we have any love for Josh Hart? We absolutely do, fam. So this final, last but not least lineup is wing stop, ladies and gentlemen. Wing stop, all you can eat, right? 5 wings out here. We all know OG Anunoby can guard 5s, right? I can debate you on that because he guarded Joel Embiid. He's done it before as well. He's got the size. Diawara has the length and the size to guard some 5s, right? Let's say it's Siakam at the 5 or someone else. We all know that Diawara showed that he's longer and taller than James Nagy in terms of standing reach from Summer League, right? You got Landry, you got Josh Hart, you got Mikal Bridges. Now you are sacrificing some ball handling, no doubt about it. But with Hart, with Bridges, I thought we just had to go something off the cuff with this one for a wing stop lineup. Now Pacome Dardier says, what about me? Pacome Dardier says, what about me? So you could throw Pacome Dardier in there instead of Landry. We don't know if Landry is even going to be on the squad yet. But I'm operating as if Landry's going to be on the squad. Johnny says 8. For this one, Shezvi goes 7. Optimus says too much wings. Too much wings. You can never have enough wings, fam. All you can eat. Now, look, truthfully, I think the best strength of this lineup is just switchability. Not necessarily offense. It's very good defensively. Very good defensively, this lineup. Obviously, we need to see more of Diawara and Pacome Dardier. You could throw Yabusele in there. We'll see if he could guard, well at the wings. But I think switchability is key in this age. Mike Brown spoke about yesterday. He said our philosophy on D is to obviously get back as soon as possible, but call ball as well. Someone needs to take that responsibility. Who is going to take ball? How many times did we get hit on the break where, the opposing guard or wing would just, start to get momentum ahead of steam and they would just go coast to coast on us? It would be like, man, I took my eye off the screen for a second and the next thing I know, we're giving up an open layup. We're giving up a transition dunk. So we must be stronger on the perimeter in terms of someone taking the ball and stopping the man. Optimus says, I like that Brown will experiment, nowhere near as rigid and stubborn as Tibbs. It'll be interesting to see how much he looks into the data, fam, and the plus minus, the analytics and things like that. I do think Mike Brown will love the size, the wings. So I don't know how much Deuce McBride is going to play with Brunson, because that might be a little small. Glenn goes 8 for that lineup. Salute CT. Salute to you, fam. So that's all I got in terms of the lineups, So we got six of those lineups with a few variations, fam. We got a death lineup. We got a couple of 5-out starting lineups. We got some wing stop thrown into the mix. Fam. Again, we'll do a little recap with that one later tonight. But let's take a look now at our first opponent, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, just before we do that, I wanted to talk about what Brown says here with Landry Shamet, because I tell you, the way they're speaking, Landry's he's going to be on the squad. He's going to make the squad. So Mike Brown says on Landry, his pace in the full court always sprints to the corner, which is what Mike Brown is looking to do. His shooting ability always puts a lot of pressure on the defense, flattens out the defense, the driving lanes. Half court, he can create a little bit for teammates as well, just with his gravity. He's a quick release and a spot-up shooter. That's why Garrison Matthews and him were brought in to compete, because it's clear that they want someone of that ilk. They want a guy who's a threat without the ball, and they want a guy that can move quickly without the ball as well, to pull a defender away from trapping Brunson or whoever, doubling Cat or whoever. So with that said, guys, I'm still expecting a trade because, I don't think Landry hangs around for this long on a non-guaranteed deal without taking security, without knowing that he's a very high chance of making the squad. And I feel like that Brogdon is, he's a lock unless he gets hurt. He is a lock to make the squad. Now, some breaking news today, just before we look at Philadelphia in a minute. Giannis, man, on the eve of a season, we got thrown a bomb in terms of Giannis talking about, he wants to be on a team that allows him the chance to compete for a chip. And that's never going to change. I want to be among the best, right? And then we had Bucks co-owner Wes Edens talk about that he had a meeting with Giannis, and he's all on board and he's looking forward to staying in Milwaukee. 1 hour later, Giannis says, I can't remember that meeting. So you can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. Giannis Antetokounmpo, man, he's kind of feeling like he's going into the season with trepidation, fam. It's kind of like you're going on that first date or second date, and you're kind of like, I don't know if I really want to hang around, or see what it's like, and then I might duck. So we'll see how that all plays out, fam. There's a massive storyline out east, right? We'll do our full predictions and preview show coming up after preseason, right? But let's take a look at our first opponent, right? Quentin Grimes, as I mentioned before, fam, is not a part of the traveling squad to Abu Dhabi. So we won't be seeing no Quentin Grimes with Philadelphia, right? But this is how they project. You got Maxey, lottery pick VJ Edgecombe, and you've got Paul George, who's healthy at the moment, knock on wood. You got Kelly Oubre, and you got Joel Embiid, right? Yeah, that doesn't really strike a whole lot of fear to me personally. How do you guys feel about Philly coming into this season, right? Look at their bench lineup, right? So, unfortunate injury news from Jared McCain. Has done a UCL, which is a thumb, basically a torn ligament in the thumb. He's going to be sidelined for months, fam. Probably the first half of the season, possibly longer than that. But Jared McCain was projected to be a huge piece for them off the bench, possibly starter at times. Quentin Grimes, they still can't work out a contract, fam. Philadelphia trying to cheap out. Obviously, we know they cheaped out on Yabu to our benefit. And then you've got Justin Edwards. I liked what I've seen from Justin Edwards. I liked him out of the draft. He can shoot it. Trendon Watford, he's an okay reserve. A Dem Boner as well. I don't know how much he's going to hold on to that spot. I like Janai Broom coming out of Auburn. And I do think Janai Broom might end up competing for some of those backup 5 minutes. And then we all know Andre Drummond, who's past the peak of his career right now. I don't know how much he's going to be trusted at this point, fam. And then you got some of their other reserve spots. So this is how we're going to line up against Philadelphia. Obviously, mad respect for Tyrese Maxey. He's a hell of a competitor. Yeah, interested to see how good VJ Edgecombe, is and can be. He looks to be the future with Maxey, Paul George, Embiid. I think it's going to be the same old sorry story if you're a Philly fan. Um, and yeah, as I just said, Buzzer, McCain is out. He's out with a UCL. So McCain, no healthy. Buzzer also says Giannis says a lot of things. Yeah, he's covering his bases, fam. He's just acting with trepidation so that the fans don't get on him. I think if he requests that out. El Tango says Giannis sees the writing on the wall. Bucks are garbage this year. And Buzzer says I've seen mosquito bites I was more afraid of. Yeah, so let's look at these first two games against Philly, right? We've taken a look at Philly's lineups now. And look, if everyone's healthy, that's a solid starting five. Not gonna lie, right? I do think VJ Edgecombe is going to be a really good two-way player in the league, and Tyrese Maxey we know is the future. But I think we're going to start with Mitch, and I think it's going to be revenge, man. 101. It's going to be revenge on Mitchie's mind. 101 going up against Joel Embiid, fam. Maybe the roles are reversed, and Embiid gets hurt going up against Mitch. But look, I don't wish anyone getting hurt. That's not how I operate. But there's a thing called karma, and we'll see what happens. Embiid couldn't finish the season healthy. Is it the same old story, guys? Let me know. Again, I'm not fearing Philadelphia. Out east, it's Cleveland. ATL, they've got their own issues with KP. He thinks that he's healthy now and that, he's over that illness that nobody knew what was the case with that. Looks like KP is going to start the season healthy. I think they're a bigger threat. Orlando, and I do think Boston's going to get Tatum back at some point. We'll see how that plays out. Look, Milwaukee, you got to give them respect. If Giannis is locked in, ready to go, he might give it one last hurrah and lay it all out there for the fans, just so if it falls short, then he can ask out. But yeah, I ain't scared of Philly, right? But I think, yeah, solid opponent to play the first two preseason games. Hopefully we see some experiment. Some of the lineups that we looked at earlier. I do want to see, obviously, the camp battle between Landry, how much minutes he might get in these first two games, right? If Landry doesn't play at all in these first two games, then, the trade might not be on and he might miss out. Brogdon, is he going to be the lead ball handler off the bench, or is it going to be Clarkson? I think that's one of the most fascinating things to look out for, fam. Player to watch for me is Mikal Bridges under the new coach, Mike Brown, and Josh Hart, right? Josh Hart made his case that, hey, I still believe I'm a starter in this league, but y'all know the deal, that I'm a team first guy, and I'm willing to do whatever the coach feels like is best, right? I feel like Hart's not going to start, maybe at some time in the season, but I feel like Hart will do whatever the team needs, and that's why he's a fan favorite. But I think long gone are the days where Hart's going to play 38 minutes and heavy minutes with the starters. Now, we'll check in on the poll, right? What are you most looking forward to in preseason? 53% say I'm looking forward to Brown's new system. Coming in at second, the new bench recruits has taken the second place at 18%. Third place is what starting five we go with at 15%. And last but not least, at 13%, y'all are looking forward to seeing the Knicks just hammer Philly, right? And sink the boot in early in the season, right? And let them know that they are the inferior product out east. And that's with over 61 votes. So salute to everyone in the building that voted. And I agree. Just looking forward to seeing Brown's new system, man. We haven't had a new coach in, 6 years? Feels like Thibodeau has been here since the turn of the century. It feels that long. He's part of the furniture at Tarrytown. But now Mike Brown's coming in, and I'll look to see how he uses these guys in preseason. Um, Optimus thinks that Sixers could be a potential trade partner for Kolek. Uh, yeah, you think about it, Optimus. I think you're right. I think McCain being out leaves them a bit short. And yes, I saw the viral graphic of Kyle Lowry, fam. I don't know how many years in the league now for Kyle, but we all saw Kyle Lowry on media day, man. To say he looks out of shape is an understatement, fam. But we all know that he's probably going to be playing that PJ Tucker role, and being that vet on the bench, the Udonis Haslam role right now. You can't seriously be counting on Kyle Lowry at this stage of the game, fam. If I'm Philadelphia, I think it's imperative that they get Quentin Grimes back, right? And they probably will, but it's probably going to be on the qualifying offer. That's the talk, right? The sides are too far apart, right? Quentin Grimes thinks he's a $25 million guy. Philly don't think that they can't afford that, or they just don't feel like they want to take that risk, right? It would be a risk. I respect Quentin Grimes. I like his game, but 25 million a season for Quentin Grimes would be a risk when you're overpaying Paul George, and you've just drafted VJ Edgecombe. So look, essentially, even if Grimes got paid, he's probably coming off the bench. So $25 million guy off the bench is, it's a lot. But I do think he's going to come up on the qualifying offer as well. And look, they're going to need Quentin Grimes. He needs to play at least 25 to 30 minutes, I think, for Philly. Altango says Kyle coughing up dust when talks. Buzzer Beater says, I think I'm a $25 million guy. Hey, salute. Yuri Ark says, overall, I'm just looking forward to seeing the Knicks play again. Yeah, Yuri, it feels like we obviously went on that deep playoff run, but it just feels like the season can't get started soon enough, Off season was hot early with the new signings and free agency, and then it just died down for 3 months. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Philly for 2 games. I think we could have maybe, tried to get a third team over in Abu Dhabi just to mix it up. But if y'all are wanting to see things mixed up, fam, the Knicks opponent, the second opponent, fam, back in New York City. This is where we get things popping. Prime time, 7:30 tip. None of this matinee. None of this matinee trash. Right. Minnesota on October 9 is going to be great because the Knicks will have headed back to New York City. They'll have probably 3 days rest after travel. And this is where, we really face a good test. Third preseason game now. We'll have had a good sample of what Mike Brown's doing with the squad, who's stepping up, who's looking fresh early, who's looking a little bit hungover from last season, possibly. And I think this third game is going to be big, right? Return of Julius Randle, ladies and gentlemen. The return of Dante DiVincenzo coming back, right? And one of the favorites in the West, right? Really, really good squad is Minnesota. You got Mike Conley still coming in. You got Terrence Shannon Jr., who I think is set for another breakout. I think Terrence Shannon's due for a good breakout. I think Randall, feeling like he's more comfortable in Minnesota now. Naz Reid, obviously tragic news about the death of his sister. I think, he needs to put family first right now. We'll see what's up with Naz Reid. I don't know if he's going to be playing much early. Rob Dillingham, I think he's due for a step up. We'll see if he gets many minutes. Rudy Gobert is getting a bit older now. He's got some tread on those tires. So we will see how Rudy Gobert does this season, right? But I do think, Randall will continue to be the second focal point. And you've obviously got the jumbo wing, fam. Now they did lose Nikhil Alexander-Walker as well, so that was going to happen. But yeah, obviously they've got still the other starting wing, Jaden McDaniels, as well, along with Ant-Man, and we'll see if Dante will start. I think Mike Conley might give up the keys, or he might start early. Buzzer says last season just ended with an unfulfilling feeling. It did, losing to the same team for the last 2 seasons, man. We need to correct that. And I think we will, fam. This is our year. This is all about us. Johnny says McCain over Grimes. McCain looked great. That injury is a tough setback. Glenn says, why am I excited to see a preseason game? I'm a Knicks junkie, for sure. We all are, fam. Most of us here are chopping things up. Got the Knicks streets buzzing. HRM says, I'm going to need the Knicks to smack Philly. Thanks. Absolutely, fam. I think we will. I think the first 2 games, both teams will just be using it as a tune-up. I think teams are going to be playing fast. They're to put on a show for that Abu Dhabi crowd, fam. Now, some of y'all may be wondering, why are we doing this Abu Dhabi thing? Well, they pay well, fam. I think both clubs will be making some serious bread from this Abu Dhabi experience. And look, maybe it's just a good opportunity for the players to bond and get closer. A little bit of a road trip before the season begins, take in the sights, continue their training at a hot temperature as well. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing the system and obviously the new bench recruits, right? But my main player to watch in preseason, fam, for me personally, is Mikal Bridges, fam. But I'm really intrigued to see how he uses Jalen Brunson. Obviously, he looks like one of the guys to have a major role change in terms of, like, his role to close the game out is obviously going to be be Jalen Brunson. But for the first 3 quarters, I think Jalen Brunson's role is going to change significantly. They want to get OG Anunoby more shots. Some of these guys weren't fully happy with their roles. They spoke up. I think the player exit interviews were very telling in terms of Leon Rose, Wesley, Dolan listening in before they let Thibodeau go. They listen to these players because they're signed up, and their buy-in and satisfaction is paramount to the team's success, right? So Bridges wasn't happy with his role under Tibbs. I don't think OG Anunoby was fully happy. Karl Anthony Towns might not have been fully happy either. So we'll see how some of these roles change up. Fam. Chris says, salute any of the Philly stars playing. Yeah, they all traveled outside of Quentin Grimes, fam. So we expect to see Embiid. I think he's healthy. Paul George is healthy. So yeah, I think we will see Tyrese Maxey as well, fam. Now, we'll take a quick look at the Knicks' third opponent of preseason, fam. A team that we know very well. We play them a lot. 4 times last season. Preseason, we usually play them too. And that is the Washington Wizards, fam. Tough to know what to make of this team. I think they'll take a step forward. I like a lot of their young players. I think Alex Sarr was a great pick. He's going to continue to grow. There will be those growing pains still, in his second year. But Koulibaly has the makings of an exceptional 2-way player. You got Chris Middleton now. He's going to be that OG for them, the unk in that locker room. Probably play less minutes. Try to be that vet. Win them a couple of ball games just so they don't, the young players don't lose the focus. CJ, they picked up CJ McCollum. Obviously, they picked up Malcolm Brogdon, who they let go, and we picked him up. Bub Carrington, coming out of the second year now. I think the jury is still out on Bub. Is he a 2? Is he a 1? Can he be the full-time point guard? I think his ascension is going to be critical to how good Washington can be. Can they win 30 games? I'm looking at their roster. I think they're going to struggle. I think, look, if CJ McCollum and Middleton can be healthy, they might have a chance. I don't think the Knicks draft pick is going to convey into a first-round pick, and it will end up being 2 seconds, which is okay. It's going to be 2 really good seconds, or 1 really good second and another second. Corey Kispert is a nice piece off their bench. Cam Whitmore as well. Marvin Bagley, he's been passed around. Keontae George is a good wing that I like. I like his promise. So yeah, this should be a good opportunity for the Knicks to maybe expand their rotation in preseason. As I bring up the Knicks squad now, this is going to be the Knicks' fourth game of preseason, right? So, and the penultimate. So this is the Knicks' penultimate preseason game. You could look at it either way. The Knicks might be going balls to the wall, and Mike Brown might be fully in tune with his rotation, or he might have felt like he's done what he needed to do in the first 3 games, and maybe he's going to use this game as a chance to get a look at, let's say a Diawara, Pacome Dardier, obviously Garrison Matthews. You want to reward some of these guys on a non-guaranteed deal, maybe give them a couple of minutes to see if they can handle the heat. What do y'all think? How would y'all approach this 4th preseason game against Washington, full of young players? I think it's a good opportunity to play our guys maybe the first half, second half, try to experiment with some other lineups, fam. I don't really need to see Malcolm Brogdon a hell of a lot, in preseason, right? We need to see him healthy. Clarkson the same, man. I want to see what Landry can do. I want to see Pacome, Huck Pority, Diawara, right? If Kolek's still on the squad, maybe they use this as a showcase to other teams, right? If Tyler Kolek has one really good preseason showing, that could be enough to grease the wheels on a good trade, and maybe get someone back or some picks back. Like y'all mentioned in the chat as well, salute about some of the teams looking for a point guard. Possibly McCain being out now, Fred Van Vliet suffering the season-ending injury to the Houston Rockets. Possibly another team comes in. HRM says 2 seconds could get you a late first, possibly. Yeah, more so I like the way the Knicks draft in the second round. We found Diawara, Huck Pority, McCullough, Kolek, Mitch, Deuce. I like our strike rate. Our strike rate picking guys in the second round, even if it's late second. And we love those late seconds because they're cheap. Remember, we're trying to skirt the second apron. We have a first round pick of our own this upcoming draft. We can't trade it, but y'all know what we can do? We can trade back, like Brock Aller loves to do, fam. He loves to trade back. Right. And let's say the Knicks finish with the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. Our pick is probably going to be pick 27, pick 28, pick 29 in the draft, fam. That's as good as a second round guy anyway. So Brock Aller might flip that. He might flip our first round pick this season and move back and maybe get a couple of or move down and try to get multiple seconds or something. We'll see how that plays out, fam. Chris says, so where can we watch the preseason games? So I know MSG going to have some of the preseason games, ESPN as well. So yeah, that's what I know for now, fam. I do know that MSG Go or MSG Plus will be doing their thing again. Johnny says Cam Whitmore is dangerous. yeah, I could see Washington being a team that gathers steam late in the season. You know, they just get scrappy, and maybe if their veterans can help them out a bit, they will pick up a couple of wins. But I don't think they're going to get 30 wins, and I can't see I can't see them being outside of the top eight worst teams, fam, in the league. So I think that, yeah, you know, we won't get that first out of that anyway. We can't really roster that first the way we're at right now. So yeah, I do think that trade is still coming, fam. And look, last but not least, our final preseason game on October 17 at 7:30 p.m. And this is at MSG again, fam, which is great. So basically, once we get back from Abu Dhabi, all the way from Minnesota, Washington, Charlotte, Cleveland, and Boston, the first 2 games of the season, our 5 game homestand is great, right? No travel, no travel for 3 weeks, even during preseason. So from October 9 all the way to October 26, the Knicks won't need to travel. So that's going to be good. But yeah, this last game, fam, I mean, I don't know how they're going to approach this one. They might have the queue in the rack at this stage and you know, use this game as a camp battle. You know, who wins the final camp battle spot. Um, they'll obviously play the starters a little bit because, you know, you still need them finely tuned. But maybe for the final 3 quarters, they might just put the queue in the rack, fam, and let some of these other guys get a taste before the season and maybe compete for some rotation minutes. I think we're going to see a Landry Shaman in this one. I think we'll see Garrison Matthews, maybe a little bit of Alex Len, Trey Jemison, obviously Pacome Dardier, Diawara, maybe a little bit of Tyler Kolek in this one. I mean, look at the lineups, fam. LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Con Kneppel, Miles Bridges, and Kalkbrenner or Mark Williams. They've also got, well, I think they've cut Daquan Jeffries, so I think this is outdated. Yeah, July 15. Yeah, they've cut Daquan Jeffries. They've got Josh Green still. They've got Spencer Dinwiddie, Colin Sexton. Interesting to see. I think he'll be a trade candidate as the season goes along. If I'm Houston or if I'm Philadelphia, I'm definitely putting in that call to see what it takes to get Colin Sexton. I think he could be a really, really good stopgap for them. So Buzzer Beater says, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. Big up. We're buzzing tonight, fam. Preseason action Thursday night or Thursday day. And we'll be live post-game later in the evening, fam. Once people get off work, and we'll chop it up at a decent hour, prime time. But the game is at 12 noon, right, Eastern Standard Time. So might not be a lot of people being able to watch this one live, but tune into the post-game. I'll be live probably around 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll come on live and do the post-game. But yeah, really looking forward to the 3rd, 4th, 5th preseason game back at MSG, fam, for the prime time action. Buzzer says Houston ain't going nowhere. I think they'll have a bucket getter late with Kevin Durant, but they're really going to miss Fred VanVleet, right? There's just no getting around that. Buzzer says the Hornets also have 3 starting caliber guys on their entire roster. Look, they're going to be down the bottom, competing for the lottery again, for the #1 pick, in my opinion. Now they will be more competitive, but yeah, I think as the season goes along, they might end up trading some of those veterans, Dinwiddie, Sexton, and just prioritizing the young guys, fam. So if I'm making a prediction now with lineups, as we do another recap, ladies and gentlemen, salute to everyone in the building. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. and like and subscribe to us. We appreciate you rocking out, keeping the streets buzzing. The first game, I think Mitchell Robinson is going to start. I think this is the starting lineup. We'll see early. And I do think we're going to see that 9-10 man, true to Mike Brown's words. We will see a 10-man rotation early, right? You can't leave Hart out of the rotation. You can't leave Brogdon out. You sign Clarkson, Deuce McBride, Yabul Sele. I think he's going to try to rock with that 10-man to start, fam, and we'll see what plays out. And we do have adequate depth. We've got Huck Porty as a situational big. Landry as a situational shooting guard wing. Diawara as a situational 3-4. Dardier as a situational 2-2-3. And as of now, we've got Kolek still on the squad, as well as a backup point guard, situational point guard. And then you've got the two-ways, McCullough, Tosan, and Trey Jemison as well, as a guy who could step in the front court. So really good depth. We go 3 deep at every position, and this is our year, fam. Like Jose G Insight says, make no mistake, this is the year the Knicks get to the NBA Finals. Fam. Buzzer says, give us a bold take for preseason. Great question, fam. Thanks for throwing me a curveball. My bold take for preseason is that we see a lot of Landry Shamet. Fam. And I don't know how bold that's going to be, but yeah, you guys let me know. I think we'll see a lot of Landry Shamet, fam. I think the Knicks plan on keeping him around. I think they're operating as if he's going to stick. Let's keep it that way, fam. And a lot of attention will be on Tyler Kolek. Does he get any minutes? Does he get any opportunities? He has traveled with the squad, so looks like there hasn't quite been a trade that they're ready to pull the trigger on just yet. Altango 45 says Hornets are going to have a garage sale. Yeah. Fabian says 2K has Diabate starting. Interesting, yeah. Everything's still in flux until the games begin. I think everyone's trying to project who's going to start, but yeah, we'll see what Charles Lee ends up doing. Now, Buzzer Beater gives us his bold take. Says, my bold take for preseason is that Mitch makes all of his free throws. I like it, man. Salute. The magic is in the work, as they say, and I think Mitch has been putting in that work in the summer and training camp. We'll see, man. Healthy Mitch coming into the season. I'm excited. I'm excited to see that, fam. Like I said before, I'll take Mitch shooting 70, man. 65, 70%. Fam. So yeah, we'll do a recap of the lineups. Continue to take your questions, fam, as the Knicks playoff action kicks off, man, on noon Thursday. David says, I want to see a lot of Diawara minutes. Yeah, David, we are going to find out how much of it did they really just put Diawara in there to save money, or how much do they really believe in Diawara early? Based on what we saw in preseason, I saw a player that could play, spot minutes. Obviously, he's a part of the 15-man, standard roster now, because he's his rookie exception deal, second round exception, helped them, skirt the second apron. But I think Diawara is very versatile, man. He screams versatility. How raw exactly is he, and how ready is he to play? We're going to find out, man, real soon. Like you, I want to see him play. But yeah, there's quite a lot of wings now, fam, that we can see, and we'll work from back to front in no particular order. This is a wing stop lineup that we might see a lot this season. Well, maybe not a lot, but we might see at some point. You got to find ways to get Josh Hart in there as well. Probably my top 3 players to watch that I'm most curious about to see how Mike Brown uses is Mikal, Josh Hart, and Jalen Brunson, right? For that particular reason, right? Not that they're more important or less important than anyone else. It's just I'm more curious to see, because I think it's up to interpretation in terms of how Mike Brown is going to use those guys. Mikal Bridges, there was a lot of different things that Tibbs didn't do with Mikal. Josh Hart, he was a Tibbs favorite. Is he going to be a Mike Brown favorite? I'm curious to see as well. And obviously Jalen Brunson, man, I'm curious to see how much his role might change in offense. But yeah, that's the wing stop lineup. Next up, version 1 of a death lineup. Right, scenario based. The Knicks are down 3 with 5 seconds remaining. Ball out of half court, out of a timeout. The Knicks are down 3 and they need a bucket. This could be a Knicks closing death lineup or offense substitution, offense defense substitution. And that's one of the biggest things I think will change with Mike Brown and with Tom Thibodeau. It will be substituting offense and defense, less, or more flexible, Like Tibbs appreciated and loved Josh Hart and those guys so much that he was willing to just leave them out there for any scenario, whether it be up 3, down 3, with possession, not in possession. It didn't matter. He just wanted Hart out there for a rebound. Because I do think Mike Brown is gonna, he's gonna use these guys and really tinker with offense, defense. Bam. So that's version 1 of a death lineup. Version 2 could be OG out for Mikal Bridges. A little bit more ball handling and shot creation. With that one, fam. So yeah, those are 2 death lineups that I'm really looking forward to seeing offensively. Now, yeah, David says, I want to see Yabu and Cat together. And yeah, this is the chance. Spaced out, needing a 3, and yeah, closing a game out potentially on offense. El Tango says, I'm just curious to see how many minutes Hart will get this year. Yeah, it could be a case of, maybe he plays a lot in the first half. We blow a team out and then he doesn't play much. Or the starters blow the team out. Hart is one of those guys with mop-up duty. But I don't think that Josh Hart is among the top 5 guys on the roster anymore in terms of, just all-round guys. I think that he's going to be a key bench piece for us. Tibbs sighting in Phoenix. Yeah, he's been attending practice for Jordan Ott, the new coach there. I think Tibbs will get a role real soon, fam. I'm looking forward to seeing where he ends up. David also agrees, very interested to see what happens with Jay Hart. Mitch took his spot in the playoffs, and Yabu might take some of his minutes too. So here is version 1 of our best defensive lineup, right? And I got love for Hart. I'll put him in version 2. But this is version 1 of the Knicks need a stop, right? Let's say it's reverse. 5 seconds to go. We're up 3, and we need to protect the perimeter. No threes up at any cost. We need to guard the perimeter. These are some guys that we could see out there, fam. Guard the 3-point line. Mitchell Robinson, of course, at the 5. OG with Bridges, with Deuce. You've got screen navigators, and you've got guys who can guard the pick. So yeah, that is that one. Actually, yeah, there's 3 versions. Let me give 3 versions of this one, fam. So yeah, you could throw Hart in this one. So Hart subs in for Deuce. So you do have that rebounding and extra size. And you don't really lose perimeter D. So this is version 2 of a defensive lineup. And the guy I had earlier, version 3 of this defensive lineup, is Landry Shamet. Right. I really like Landry on the defensive side. Right. Some of those lineups with DeLon Wright, Landry played well in the playoffs, man. So we'll see how motivated and how healthy Landry is in preseason, competing for a roster spot. But I think defensively, he could be among one of our best defensive lineups, when guarding the 3. Man. He's in guys' pockets, is Landry, man. He does not let a guy get separation on him, usually. And he does it well. He's disciplined. He doesn't foul unnecessarily. He's able to stick with his guy without fouling, which is very valuable in this league, right? A lot of the other guys, they're foul heavy. Apoca Knicks now, great to see you, salute. There's rumors out here that Mike Brown has been very pleased with Mitch and his game and will most likely not play him in back-to-back games. If that's the case, fam, I appreciate that, Look, 82 game grind, we just need to get to the finish line healthy, and I think whatever's best, giving Huck Porty chances, giving OG minutes, Yabu minutes at the 5, there's ways we could, there's versatility now. And yeah, we need to keep out some of our most important players healthy. Now, spoiler alert, next stream, I want to do a tier list, right? We're going to get through my tier list, your tier list of most important Knicks players heading into the season, right? Not best players, most important players on a tier list from top to bottom, man. Who are the players that we could replace if they're injured, and who are the players that we just can't replace no matter what, in terms of their importance to the squad and winning a championship, right? So those were 3 versions of a defensive lineup. Now, a potential starting lineup for times. Yabusele with Cat, right? 5 out. This is the first of 2 major 5 out lineups. Brunson, Macau, OG, Yabusele, Cat, man. You've got everything. You've got corner spacing, you've got some ball handling, and you've got some rebounding as well. Obviously, it's a blend of defense, offense. It's not specializing in one specific thing. But I think it's a very strong offensive lineup. And this could be a lineup that closes, depending on how Yabusele, takes to the team, Foreign Vlog and TV, let's get it, bro. I like this content, big up, and I just subscribed. So great to have you with us, fam. Excellent to have you with us, and I appreciate it. Ready for the season. I'm excited to see this squad, fam, in action on Thursday. Optimus says Tibbs was a stubborn son of a gun, held the team back. Davis says don't judge Tibbs till we see how far Brown can take us. Yeah, I agree with both. I think both have their strengths, weaknesses. We kind of knew what Tibbs' strengths were, and we appreciate what he did for the squad. Some of the tricky things Tibbs had to navigate, injuries, kept us competitive. He raised the floor, raised our ceiling a little bit as well, developed some of the younger players, but I think he took us as far as we could go. Now, if you're Tibbs, I guess one frustration, if I'm Tibbs, could be like, okay, you made good upgrades. Why not bring me back? I could have used a Yabusele. Tibbs could have said, I would have used Malcolm Brogdon, but Yao didn't give me those weapons. So I've got no doubt that's what Tibbs is thinking, man. this is Tibbs's dream job, and I'm sure that he was devastated and frustrated that he got let go. You still got some of his friends like Frank Isola on Twitter out here still defending him. And Frank Isola is very close to Tibbs. I'm sure they talked a lot. I've heard from some people that are close to Tibbs as well. He was devastated. He wanted to come back. But at the same time, if you lose some of the players or some of the players that were key pillars of the team, felt like change was needed, then that's what ownership had to do. That's what ownership had to do, fam. But Tibbs will always have, I think, a really good legacy with the New York Knicks, right? So I think he could feel proud. He could feel proud of what he did over the 5 years. But let's see how Mike Brown can take us, fam. Now, last lineup we take a look at now is the other 5-out lineup, and this is a lineup that Tibbs didn't play. The other one that we showed earlier was with Yabu. This one is with Deuce McBride. So these are two of the most likely non-Mitch starting lineups without Hart. So no Mitch and Hart. Two other 5-out lineups. One was with Yabu. This one is with Deuce. Now, big up to Jason Benjamin earlier with the super chat, said that we're going to get killed on the glass with this lineup, right? Yeah, it's not a strong rebounding lineup, but I'm not that worried about getting killed on the glass. I think Cat is an absolute elite rebounder, and OG is a solid rebounder as well. But we definitely know why Tibbs didn't play this lineup is because of the rebounding. Damn. So we get to a few more comments. Optimus says, CT, nice stream, informative, friendly, lots of interaction. Appreciate it, fam. You already know. Eddie F, great to see you. Let's go. Happy new season. CT, glad to be back. Man, I'm very glad to see you back, and I can't wait to ride or die this season with everyone. Salute. Margaret says, I like Tibbs. I just wish he was not so stubborn. Yeah, every coaches have their own philosophy, and that's what they craft, they develop as they come up as a coach. Some of them prioritize certain things over others. Like rebounding was Tibbs's thing, but he didn't prioritize 3-point defense. He was more old school. It's fair to say. Maybe when the Knicks last won their championship, when the 3-point ball wasn't prevalent, it was 2-point shots, get the rebound, push the break. Now the game has completely changed. It's all about pace and space, 3-point shooting. Mike Brown has been with Steve Kerr, Golden State Warriors. He's coached LeBron, Kobe. I think he's going to bring his own ideas, philosophy, and it is going to be a bit different to Tibbs. Yeah, agree with David, and that's why I feel like Tibbs, look, if Tibbs had came back, I wouldn't have been mad, I would have preferred a change still. So I'm 100% fully on board with the coaching change, and I always have been. But if Tibbs came back, I wouldn't have been mad because the roster improved. The roster improved significantly. Like David says, Tibbs had no bench. We do now. So yeah, but we'll just never know. We'll never know, fam. And that's okay. Tibbs, like I said, he leaves with a legacy, I think, that is positive. Coaches will say it's never good getting fired and losing a job, but I look at it different. I look at it like, okay, it was probably one of the more pleasant firings, you could say. We just fell short. I think we ran out of gas. Just Nick, salute. Yeah, the overarching thing with Tibbs was just the flexibility. Like, okay, just be a little bit more flexible with Hart's minutes, and benching him, but also offensively that was probably the killer, It wasn't creative. Look, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, they were underutilized. Brunson overutilized, maybe, and Hart as well. Cat underutilized. as well. So as we draw to a close, that concludes our preseason preview, fam. And looking at the rosters, I think the Knicks will probably go. Heck, let's say five. Let's say 5-0, man. Um, even the Minnesota game, I think we'll win. I think the Knicks start out 5 wins, 0 losses. The 2 games against Philly. We'll see how much they tinker with the lineups, but I do think the Washington and the Charlotte games, man, will be a great chance to get a look at, Dadier, Diawara, some of these lineups that we looked at tonight. Um, yeah, Buzzer says that dummy action on offense killed me with Tibbs. A lot of side to side, a lot of side to side. I think Mike Brown wants to get up and wants to get down, man. He wants to go from north to south, right, or south to north, and not east to west. And there was a lot of east to west in Tibbs's offense, fam. And it did give a lot of teams get opportunities to get set on defense, man. I want us to get more transition baskets, and that's exactly what Brown's trying to do. Try to get up and down and use some of our athletes, fam. We'll see how durable that's going to be, man. If there's one undoing for Brown and that system, could be injuries, fam. Let's see how durable Cat can be in an up-tempo system. Let's see how many minutes and how much they, preserve Mitch in an up and down system. But we do have the bench guys to play more minutes now with Yabusele, Hart playing more minutes with the bench as well. We all know Clarkson can get up and down as well. So yeah, really looking forward to it, man. Eddie says what sets CT apart is that he's all about the team and the game and not trying to celebrate himself, man. Appreciate you, man. It's all about you guys. It's all about us, really. That's what I want to do with this platform. First and foremost, man. I never claim to be correct. I never claim that I know more than someone else. We all share different opinions, thoughts, and I learn a hell of a lot as well about this situation from all of y'all. Building blocks, salute. Says, don't be shocked if Brogdon starts a few games alongside JB. Definitely, I think that's an opportunity because Brogdon can guard 2s and 3s. Fam, and I appreciate that building because that's probably one lineup that I've not missed, that I've missed, right, in the death lineup. So yeah, there could be 3 versions of this death lineup, like Building Block says. You could substitute Clarkson out for Brogdon, and it's still a death lineup. The other lineup I had was OG substituting for Mikal. Or OG could be substituted for Yabu. That could still be a death lineup. Super floor spacing, offensively minded. Yes, Optimus as well. I forgot all about this, fam. The assistants. I mean, we have Brendan O'Connor as a defensive coordinator. We have Ricardo Foy. We have Chris Gent. We have some of the returning guys with, Darren Ehrman and obviously not Dice, but we got Rick Brunson. We got Jordan Brink. So, man, we definitely added some more creativity. Defensively, offensively. I think we are going to play a lot more, versatile defensively as well with zone, trap, blitz, switching, hedging, less drop, I think is the key word. Billy Lang, appreciate you, Buzzer. Billy Lang in the development staff. Rick Brunson's taking a less role. Maybe that could benefit him and JB. Maybe they could have more time together in terms of focusing on individual work with Jalen Brunson and being more private workout with JB. Mark Bryant, we're bringing back as well, the big man guy. He could work with Yabu. He could work with Huck and Trey Jemison as well. But yeah, to wrap up, one of the bold takes of preseason, Buzzer Beater asked, I think Landry Shamet. I think there's a chance that Landry becomes another coach favorite. Tibbs really liked Landry. The front office liked Landry as well. Looks like Mike Brown, praising Landry heavily. As I bring up Mike Brown's quotes, fam, because look, every coach has a system player, and I think Landry is that kind of system player for Mike Brown. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot, he can defend. He's kind of a decent athlete, player movement off the ball. His pace will be good in the half court, in the full court, sprints, plays hard. Even if it's for like 3-4 minute spurts, he'll play tenacious and leave it all out there as well. Now, if the shooting can be really consistent, look out for Landry to play a major role, fam. A lot of people looking at Brogdon. We don't know how much Brogdon's going to be able to stay healthy. He's an older guy, so Landry's a really, really solid backup. Yuri says, I don't like zone. I feel like it's a cop-out from actual defense. Yeah, a lot of people are torn on the zone. I don't mind it if we throw in, zone, sparingly. The thing with Tibbs is he never used that at all. Look, if you're playing against a team that can't hit threes, it's not a bad look. You get in their head. Let's say we're playing a Washington or even a team like Milwaukee with Giannis out there, man. Dare him to shoot. Dare him to shoot. And sometimes those lineups with Russell Westbrook and TJ McConnell, it's not a bad thing at times. Just to force a bad shooting team to take a couple of threes. Yes, and we have to wrap up the poll, fam. So I'll end the poll right now. The first coming in number one thing that people are most looking forward to in preseason to see is Brown's new system at 52%. After that, man, it's neck and neck. It's close for 2, 3, 4. Now, next up, 17% want to see the new bench recruits. At 16%, people want to see what starting five we prioritize. And last but not least, just behind at 15%, is people want to see the Knicks hammer Philly. You got to love it, man. Preseason action. And we do want to see some hammerings and see Philly get the beat down, fam, to start the year off. Let them know who's boss coming out in the East, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, man, that wraps up a preseason preview, fam. Like I said, we'll do another show before the preseason. It's a tier list. Most important players coming into the season, fam. Which are the players that we just can't do without, in terms of importance to the team and winning a championship. And then we'll be live after the game, right? Around 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern, right? We won't go live right after the noon game because it's going to be too early, fam. But the first 2 preseason games at noon at 11 a.m. The second one, and then the third game is back to regular programming for a 7:30 p.m. Eastern tip back in New York City. Appreciate everyone in the building tonight, man. You guys are MVPs, keeping that streets buzzing. Buzzer beater, man. Sorry to hear. Prayers up to and thoughts and condolences, man, with the victims of a mass shooting, fam, in your area, in your hometown, man. Strength, prayers, bless up to everyone affected, man, from that tragic incident, fam. I wasn't aware, so sorry to hear that, and hopefully we can give you some strength and some blessings, fam. Peace out, everyone, and we'll see you soon on the next one.